Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Mazie Harris. I'm one of the curators in the Department of Photographs, and we're so happy to welcome you here tonight for the exhibition and reception, María Magdalena Campos-Pons, Behold. The exhibition is on view until May 4th, and I hope you'll have a chance to come back and see it again. It will also be on view after the conversation this evening. Special thanks to my exhibition co-curator, Carmen Jaramo, now a curator at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. Not only did she helm this exhibition with compassion and passion, but she just celebrated her birthday. So let's give her a big round of applause. Carmen! This project would not have been possible without the generosity of so many lenders who have allowed us to tour their work across the United States for the past many years. Our gratitude to them and to the gallerists who have supported the artist for so long. Thank you also to Magda's studio staff, and we're just so grateful to you and to the fantastic team at the Getty who have been working on this project for years. I want to especially recognize Susan McGinty, an incredible colleague who really helped this exhibition be all that it is. Please, a round of applause for Susan. We're also lucky to have with us tonight Philip Townsend, one of the incredible. He brings his own applause section. I love that. He contributed to the exhibition catalog, and I'm happy to say that we have several signed copies, art copies signed by the artist available in the bookstore. So I hope you'll be able to read Philip's fantastic essay. Tonight we have the opportunity to listen. And what a gift is that in these times, to put away our cell phones. Please put away your cell phones. Or at least mute them. It's such an opportunity to quiet ourselves and to listen. For more than 40 years, María Magdalena Campos-Pons has been making visually engaging and socially engaged artwork that asks us to think about connections. And so we're so grateful to have this opportunity to connect with her tonight. I'm so pleased that we'll, in just a moment, welcome Jenée-Daria Strand, now an assistant curator at the Public Art Fund in New York, to join me on stage. She was integral to the work of conceptualizing this exhibition and book. And above all, of course, we celebrate María Magdalena Campos-Pons. Please join me in welcoming her to LA and to tonight's dialogue. Magda, Jenée-Daria. So that's my kid crying in the background. Hey. So Jenée-Daria and I have a few questions, and we'll then have a Q&A at the end of our conversation. So you'll be welcome to ask questions of your own, and that's true for those of you joining us online as well. Please send your questions through the Q&A portion, and we'll be able to answer them after we've had our chance to chat with the artist. I wondered if you wanted to start us off with a few words.
Thank you, Mazie and Jenée, for me to be here. I want to first of all say thank you to all ancestor lineage to guide me to this stage and to this city. I also want to dedicate this conversation to the memory of Juan Delgado Guerra, a wonderful curator in Cuba, who some way, somehow told me that I was going to be speaking in this stage. This is a very delicate time and a complex time for everyone of us in the world as human. So I want to center my time here and my presence here with profound gratitude to all the people that participate in making this exhibition, the wonderful three curators that have been guiding forces in creating this opportunity. And also, I am grateful to my gallerist in this region, Wendy Norris and her team, who were initiated in the construction of this exhibition, to my studio team who are here, Amor and Taylor, and to my partner Kamal Malak, and so many other people, the donors, of course, the supporters behind this effort. And in the entire team of performers, they were here yesterday in this stage, and they have been in this project since a year ago in Brooklyn, New York. I also have in my mind the work and the words of authors such as Bell Hooks in her conversations about the necessity of love in our times and in our society. Octavia Butler, a daughter of this region, of this city, who I was privileged to be in conversation with in a very early engagement in New York with one of my performers' partner, Latasha Diggs, and who spoke of the incredible forces and energy of nature in this region. So before we ended and started the conversation about my work, I want to acknowledge the resilience of this city and the beauty of this city and the regenerative energy that resides within this city, and to express my solidarity with all Angelenos, and always knowing that after ashes, green leaf come back again. So I say that as an invocation of hope, an opportunity for new growth, for everything that matters in this city and in this world.
Thank you so much for that, and I want to, that reminds me to give gratitude also to the funders of the exhibition who supported this exhibition and project, the related public programs. We were so lucky to have the artist perform with an incredible team of collaborators last night, so thank you so much to Alicia Mignana and Rob Lovelace, not only for their support of this project, but for many of the Pacific Standard Time exhibitions around town. So really wonderful to start with this feeling about gratitude. I think that connects really beautifully with some of your questions.
Exactly. Thank you, Mazie, for having me here. Thank you to the Getty team for all of your organization. And Magda, thank you for allowing me to be a spirit walking alongside you as you've been thinking about this exhibition and generating this exhibition. My first question to you, Magda, is in relation to a theme that feels so central to your work, which is breath. I'm thinking about this work specifically, umbilical cord, because it is, the title encapsulates the source from which you derive your work, which is the feeling that breath is from which we come and breath is from which we go. This feeling of connectivity, this theme of geographical multiplicity, and how that all shows up not only in this work but across your work over time. My first question is just wanting you to, or inviting you to speak about this theme of multiplicity, this theme of maternal lineage and connection across time and place, and how that continually generates your work over the many decades of your practice.
Well, that is a rich question and a provocative question. I kind of remember that in one of the pieces that are in the exhibition, the video Rite of Initiation, there is a small line in the video in which the character says, "We are the same scene." And what is in the image is a braids in the hair of a black woman, but the next is lying in the field of a soil in Matanzas. And what she say, "We are the same scene, somos la misma cosa." And what I was trying to say there is that matrilineal line is not only biological, it's as well ecological. that we are not only sons and daughters of the mothers and fathers that produce us, but of this universe, and that every one of us is a son or daughter of the air. And as I am keeping reflecting in this idea, I am getting closer and closer to this question to myself of our position, our positionality in relation to the universe. I am trying to think that us, in the multiplicity of being, in the multiplicity of existence, in the multiplicity that no one of us ever, no even the identical twins repeat themselves. It's a miracle. It's an extraordinary miracle of the universe, as it is every leaf in one plant, as it is every feather in a bird, as it is everything. So this idea of seeing carefully in the structure of that individuality at the same time that is a continuum is very important. My frustration as I getting more mature, I don't want to say elder, but mature, is that I feel that I get exasperated about, do we really understand, including me, the privilege of being human? I am in anguish and despair quite too often, with implications in my body about the frustration about how could we miss the mystery and the privilege to be here? So I am talking in other area of my making, the idea of geography is not only topography. There is a geography of the body. There is a geography of the constituency of being this incredible energy packet of cells and things together that never repeat again and is unique not only in the planet, not only in your household and in your block, in the universe. So when I'm thinking in geography and umbilical cord, that would be this continuum from mother to daughter to son and daughters and granddaughters and all of that, is a line that is continued in the universe. It is a dot. It's a little dot of potential repetition and reenactment in very peculiar ways of that. This is no metaphysic philosophy. This is energy. This is simple energy. Every one of us is a packet of unique energy. And the energy, they have a continuum. See, I bite one of you is an aggression that your body feels. So as I kiss you and embrace you, is an energy that your body feels. So every single thing that we do in this lineage, this beautiful lineage of motherhood and the body of a woman, the continuum, is also, in my opinion, a necessary soul to all of us, this continuum of understanding what the other feels, understanding what the other sensing, because we doing that. Because I say this funny example of biting or pinching, we feel that. So that's Mazie, so that's Jenée. So that's what the mother, when the mother says, I understand the pain of my son, of my daughter, that is a metaphor it should be a metaphor for all of us. And it should be a metaphor when you feel the pain of your son and your daughter. They are a mother in the other side of the planet Earth that could feel the same pain. So when I am celebrating the joy and the privilege of my son or daughter in this space of beauty, I am not blind to the other side that maybe is not in the same position. I am back to my reflection. Until we understand that, we are not fully human. We are an experiment not yet completed. We are a try not yet perfected. That's my mother's opinion.
I also want to move us into this idea of the expansion of time. If we can go to the next slide, I want to talk about 7 powers and this feeling of being born with the understanding and the implications of all that has come before. And I think that encapsulates precisely what you're saying, but also how it shows up in this work, in your performance practice, the ways that you expand time in your work, in your performance, and how you use that, again, as a generative tool for making. I would love to hear you talk about how expansion across biology, the body as geography, also rears its head in how you are thinking about your presence in galleries, your presence in many spaces across the world, but through your performance practice specifically.
Well, I started doing performance very young, very, very young. I say maybe the first performance was, what I'm thinking now, hiding under the table in the house and putting a mosquito net under it and making like a little hiding place. And then performing solitude, because that was very, in my youth, I was a very introspect young person. I grew up in a different scene later in these changes. But so the gallery space, I was very curious from the very beginning in the particularity of the white cube, one that I went through the entire education and of art. But I come from seeing performance in a very open, different practice, rituals or religious practice in Cuba, processions in the carnivals and in the religious celebration. I always say the first altar the first installation that I ever witnessed was an altar in my family house, and it was everything that installation should and could be. It was everything there. And the same with performativity, but I was in the piece that is in the screen, the 7 powers that came by the sea. I have been very awareness of the position of a black body has been important to my work and to my research and to my understanding of everything for many reasons. My upbringing, I grew up in a sugar plantation. It was a formal plantation in which my ancestral lines, my great-grandfather and grandmother, we had never met, all work and live there. So it was very present in the skin, this heritage and this lineage, both in the architecture, in the traditions, and in the life that was in the town, the kind of practices, the language. I have said many times in different occasions, my father used to speak with me in Yoruba language. I didn't know that time there was Yoruba, but he was telling me how his grandfather talked to him, and they call in Cuba that lengua, but it was Yoruba. So that's kind of it's incredible to, in the 60s, to have that kind of presence of this lineage so alive in the region of Matanzas. But also, I was aware very young of the oppression of certain group of people, just because language. I remember hearing when I was super young, in the town, people are coming and neighbors say, they're coming a man, en español, un hombre, una mujer y 2 negritos. A man, a woman, and 2 little black kids. And I was thinking, but at the moment, I say, but why? What is only with these 2 that is this calling, this definition? So those were, I was an attentive young person in a way, and those things stood with me in some way. So I was determined to write in a very particular way all these observations. So the 7 powers that came by the sea and come back to Africa is my response that I was in some way early learning that What is the difference here? I wanted to try to make my best friend was Marilsa Delgado, and it was a Jewish Cuban woman, and we were like this, we were like two scenes together all the time. So with us together, it will not be la niña y una negrita. Las dos were niñas. The two were girls. And I am interested still in that because these are very subtle construction of separations and difference that are not reals. No? That's what I was thinking always. Las memorias de las diferencias, the memories of difference is in what is similar and is not seen. What is similar and is a kind of a race in the surface. So I wanted to tell that story for everyone. Visiting the National Museum of Bellas Artes de La Habana as a 13 years old, it was nothing that tell anything about the history of Black Cuban. So I decided, I am changing that. And I went to the group of my friends and say, I'm going to have a piece in the National Museum of Bellas Artes that tell that entire story. And they laughed because we were very young, but I did that, exactly that. And I have been committed to, I am a griot in a way. I am an African, I am telling oral narrative. I am telling the scene that I observed, and I knew that they didn't have a space of presence in a language that I love, in a territory that I feel this is my home, painting, sculpting, photographing, performing, drawing. So for me it was, I am a miracle too. I'm going to use every single one of my energy and time to tell these stories and tell them as much as I can with something that I said yesterday in the performance, with beauty. Because beauty is resistance. And I was thinking, is beauty too is an opportunity to engage people. So one of my aims has been, how do I tell you difficult stories in a way that you want to stay with them, at least for 2 minutes, or in a good chance, a minute and a half. That's a lot of time. That is a lot of time of viewing. But because I think that was important. So Africa, this narrative, British Empire, who were those maps of the position of the economy and the efficiency of the distribution of bodies in those particular traverses are part of that story. And then in the ground, in that piece, is all the Black faces of the neighbors and the people that I know since I was young, and a picture of my great-grandfather that I never met, with his colonial name of Gabriel, and it says, let's never forget, in Spanish and English. Not because I want to be not to forgive, because not forgetting that story is understanding important elements in the making of my experience as becoming the best human that I could be. So I'm trying to be intently consequential, but through what I was doing in that piece, forcing performance with a sculpture, forcing painting with performance and sculpture, forcing photography in the moment with sculpture and performance, and it was very inconvenient. I remember people telling me, but how do we put you in what place I put you? I'd say, I don't know. The place that I need to go is not to be made yet. We are working in that. And that's what it is. And I think that has been the interest in this piece were carved in a particular wood, sugar pine. And sugar was referring to all the reason that why these bodies ended in the Americas and the Caribbean, but also sugar pine smell delicious. I don't see that piece very often. It's the collection of the British Museum, British in Vancouver, British Canada. And the time that I have seen the piece back, I have a lot of happiness. I remember that I spent around almost a year carving that piece in a basement. I didn't have a formal studio. And in any case, it's all about marking geographies and making this continuum, and that you ask about it and trying to see in what way that reveals something of importance to us now.
And something that we witnessed last night in the performance was how you cultivate the sensorial through your performances. At the end of the performance, you ushered us out onto the horizon of the city, and you also invited us to eat edible flowers and drink pomegranate juice that had formerly been pressed and performed in and of itself in a prior presentation at the Brooklyn Museum of another performance that you did in relation to this exhibition. And so I would love to hear you talk about the sensorial nature, both in this aspect of beauty, but also in the necessity of ritual as it relates to your performance.
Well, I want to know if anybody in the audience here today was here yesterday. Few people were here yesterday. Thank you for coming again. It's a lot of effort. And also, I want to say, anybody dare try to eat the flowers? Thank you too. That is brave. That's very wonderful. But I think that what performativity in the area of performativity in visuality and in the territory of the language of visual art has done is that expand our sense of perception. You know, when you're thinking of painting, you're thinking in this a frontal experience. No, of course you could think when you love a painting or a drawing or a photography of anything that you look in which you primarily engage the sight, you could close your eye and still seeing it, no? Because it's still with you in your brain, in your soul. But what has been interesting is to expand that to in what way we experience being here and experience opportunity of thinking in different dimensions when our olfactory elements are invited, when touch is invited. The history of modernity in its majority, it was please don't touch. And in postmodernity, in the period in which I kind of come to be an artist, what is we're trying to do, especially the people and the group of people that come with me, is what is art in my time? What is for? What it serves? What it needs to inscribe that was not there? In what way this history of me that I am telling you before could open different opportunities to sense and to explore. When I was, this is no offense to the museums, but sometimes I tell my students, remember, I'm going to say exactly what I say because I don't going to betray my students, some of them are here. I used to say, remember, the museum is the cemetery of the art. No, and it is, in a good way. It's a mausoleum to preserve in a different way. And what is the vitality of performativity is that it's flesh activated in the moment. So when I ask you to taste, I know that you taste your food all the time, but I am asked you to taste in a different dimension. And when Jenée asking me about time before, when I asked you taste this flower in the context of my performance, I am inviting you in many, many dimensions and in many times. There is alchemy in making art. There is alchemy in performance. There is alchemy in the trust. Alchemy is energy in transformation, in whatever form it takes. So when you trust me to taste that flowers, you maybe don't like the taste. You maybe actually feel, what is this? But we're making a negotiation of experience. That is what art is about. It's to awaken you from something that you feel very comfortable and invite you to sing something else and there. Because I believe too, and I think that, and I say, art is the engine of human progress. I could tell you for a long time what I say that, but we don't have time. But it is, we are here, just to say one thing, we are here because we dare to sculpt. We dare to make a little arrow or something cutting to help ourselves. See, we don't do that motion, I don't know where we would end it. So again, the provocation of the idea, the provocation of concept, the provocation, art is all about inquiry, all the time. And that is what I say in a very funny, not funny, but simple way. You know, in universities, I am an academic, is art and science. They could not be separated. It would not be science without arts. Would not existed. Both are dreamers. So when I invite you to taste, close your eyes, allow me to touch you, I don't going to hurt you. We are a society that is literally, absolutely banning human touch. What a mistake. What a profound mistake when we see each other with dangerous and enemy, when we should be seeing each other like a friendly and equal. So my performance is an attempt to build those bridges. This is what I'm thinking about, a circle of connection, of love, of bringing something together. I have the right as an artist and the privilege to be a dreamer, no? But also, when I think about my responsibility, is how many one of you I could take to be dreaming with me in everything, in everything. The best performance that I have done is that every single day I met a stranger. Any place that I am, I become a friend with somebody that the only reason that I know that person, it was because it was in my proximity. And I have a lot of people, some of them write me back. I offer my telephone to everyone. And then sometimes I get the message and I say, oh, who was this? Who is this? And then they tell me the whole thing. It is important. I have been doing this performance for 7 years. Because when I was moving to Nashville, to the center of the beginning of the South, of the heart of America, some of my good people say, what are you doing that? And I was thinking, why not? And for me it was, how do it's almost like, I grow in the farm when you have, this is a bad example, but when you need to make your little horse be nice and let you mount it, and you need to literally train it. And I was thinking, I need to be comfortable. So my training to be comfortable is, I need to meet people that I don't know who they are, and they don't know who am I, and let's negotiate knowing each other. But it's also an exercise of trust in the human next to me. So in one of my other video performances, it was called The Voice of the Silence, and I am talking about how is to feel the heartbeat of a person standing nearby to you. And you know that that heart is beating pretty close to your own tempo. But to dare to experience that, it's only take this, a holding of hand, and in a few seconds, I could start counting Mazie pulse. No, I am in that space of alchemy, and I believe that performance is a healing process, is a vehicle for peace among all of us, is a spiritual practice, is a emboldening practice to trust each other, and it is a language that speaks in a way of the necessity of our time. But performativity is the very, very beginning of human experience, and it's the very, very beginning of art practice as we know in human experience. So this is a very, very ancient practice that in the West, when the art become all mercantile, and it was all about making a frame and sell it, all these other very ancient forms were put in the side, and then a generation of other people say, well, we are missing something extraordinary. We need to come back there. So that is the importance, I believe, of performance or the location of performativity in my work. It's everywhere. It's in my photograph. It's in my live performance. It's in my paintings, in which I dance and sing while I am painting. And see, I would have a camera all the time. I'm doing that now. There is more performance while I am painting than painting happening. But they help each other. And there is a freedom. So I am very interested, and I finish with this. I am interested in the role of sociability in performance. Performance invites you to be part of the process, to be part of the practice. Performance doesn't separate you by the screen of the digital image, by the layer of the oil, of the acrylic, of the watercolor, of the wash, etc. Printmaking. Performance made you materiality, made you a vehicle to complete. See, I asked you, eat the flowers, and you don't, it's not completed. So there's something here quite beautiful. And I am really interested in my practice in social performativity, which is why I have created programs of social engagement in everywhere that I have been and everywhere that I put food with certain sense of commitment, because that's what we need. I still thinking we need to find out the new language of what art is about. I am still thinking that I am an artist in the period of transition of the new language that are going to emerge as we move forward in our experiment of being human. We are not post-human yet, because we are still killing each other.
So much for that, for helping us think forward in that way. You've touched on emotional connection, on social construction, and a little hint of working in the studio, the dancing while you're making your work. I wanted to ask a little bit more about your time in the studio. We've seen already in some of the works, and you'll see in many works in the gallery, the way that you're piecing individual compositions together to make one large, really immersive artwork. And thank you for helping us think about our bodies. I think it's so often in LA we're sort of separated in our cars and feeling distanced from each other. So thank you. I'm sure she made you each aware of who you're sitting next to in the audience. And certainly the artworks in the exhibition make you aware of your body. You step back to take them in. You step forward to see the incredible details. So I wondered if you could speak about this practice of compiling different images together. How is it that you started working in that way, that kind of composite way? And what do you still find satisfying about making diptychs, triptychs, large grids?
Well, there is both ages in that. I would say one is my own fascination with formal structure. And I say in some ways to my friends and the curators, is I need to describe my work in the sort of the language of traditional art history, whatever I say, I am Baroque or minimal. And then people say, no, you cannot do that, that's not possible. And I say, well, yes, there is but also I am very interested in the miniature and the expansive scale, the giant, the large. And I also very interested in intimacy of gesture. I drew a lot. I drew in bed, meanwhile eating, meanwhile I am in meetings, meanwhile I'm teaching, and I drew my students in class and all of that. And I also have observed too, when I was a mother, how my kid builds scenes. I would say that I learned a lot from Arcadio building blocks and building Lego. And the kind of passion and the kind of dexterity and commitment to do something very big with something very small. and the capacity to see a large element from the little scene. A little block, but oh, this is a castle and a tower and a little Lego. Oh, and this is an entire train. Is nothing yet here, but it's going to happen later. All those things are important for the work. And then I always have been trying to work in my scale too. I have done a lot of work in solitude, by myself. And then, of course, I am in a moment now in which I could have the luxury to have a studio assistant and to have a production that happened outside just my studio. But my practice comes from a very stoic me and myself in my studio with my troubles. And I say this, the very first time that I won an international prize, 1984 in France, the piece that won that prize, I carved it with a kitchen knife in the backyard of the art school. I didn't have any other tool, and it's a big piece. There is something about the studio practice that is I am enamored with. I am in love with my tools. I love to carve. It is dangerous, but I never accidentally cut anything except my wood or my whatever. I love to do watercolors, all of this medium, but I don't have glass. I have certain stitches for a glass accident, but minimal. But I don't know how to explain that, and I believe that this is true to every artist. The connection, the umbilical cord with your material is profound. So I am in total freedom and in total transcendent space when I am doing my work. And this is what I insist, that art is a healing tool. I don't say that just because literature. I am saying that because I know in my own experience. I know that art invite you and bring you to spaces of your being that otherwise you maybe don't go. And that every one of us is capable. I don't say that everybody could be an artist, but everybody could do art that is a freedom space. So all this, the Polaroid in particular, I started using the Polaroid when I was a student at Mass College of Art in 1988. You guys know that it's very few cameras. One was in Mass College of Art. And I was very intrigued by this particular tool because I was interested in performance art. And I saw that it was performativity in this camera, that you could take this giant box, take a shot and have printed and say, oh, no, this is not what I'm trying to do, and do it again. No, you are not in the dark room now, see and revealing this and see, oh, yes, no. This was something that have this immediacy, and this is what I say, that the Polaroid camera is a performative tool that allowed me to think in ways that were incredible. So in that piece that you see in Elevata was inspired by the fresco of Raphael in Italy. I lived in Italy for a period of time, and I was privileged to have access to all this art. And I find out in the street of Rome that Elevata mean Maddalena, my name. So I was thinking, oh, that's interesting. Elevata, Magdalena. But I am in this divide between the heavens and the bottom of the ocean. So this piece is a Maddalena or Elevata, and the blue of the frescoes. You know that the blue that Raphael, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, all these incredible Italians use is a very particular blue. I have the opportunity to see the drawings of the School of Athens and cry in front of them, because what I find out when I was seeing the drawings of the School of Athens from Raphael is that could I see the strain of his arm drawing the figures. I could see the density, in the density of the line, how much pressure he would put in that paper. I cannot tell you how this impacted me in the idea of how one artist from another period could talk with an artist in my period. And I drew from his drawing in the moment, and I saw that I wanted to do something in this piece that referred to the blue of this fresco, and that doesn't determine what is it. Is the sky, is the ocean, is in between, is something else, and then using in that narrative African hair, and the narrative of the dreadlocks, the narrative of the lock African hair, who was such in a space of contention and for many of the women of my generation for the piece. So materiality, reference, personal narrative, and love for the material. I did my very first performance too in video, just filming myself doing crazy scenes. No, some of them you have not seen, but it's all of those are important. So this piece is a combination. This is the one that carry the fire. It starts in the very bottom, the little, and it's just, again, a scale. There is a portrait there, but the portrait is the smaller thing in the composition, and is in a place that most of the time nobody put portrait, which is in the very bottom of the piece. No, so you are in that room with that piece, the portrait is in your knees, and you need to go down. And so, and I don't doing this in a way of, I am doing that because necessity. I wanted to tell the story of the fire, the scene that overcome, but also a fire that you could carry, that you could contain of whatever. And it again start, there is a drawing there. They have human hair, have my hair, have my dreadlocks. Anytime that I could, I have dreadlocks since I was 15 until 2020. And before 2018. and anytime that I cut them, I save them. So I have put them all through my arts, and because they are beautiful lines, and they are my DNA, and everything that I was thinking, etc. So this piece, the one that carried the fire, and it have a tiny drawing by my son, Arcadio. So Arcadio said that I steal his drawings. I do. And he's welcome to steal mine.
You'll see when you're in the gallery, you'll see there's a very small piece of paper in the lower center, and that contains Arcadio's drawing, and then this beautiful work that she made surrounding that. So this is your time to be reflecting on your own questions. I will say that we have some wonderful colleagues who will have microphones. So if you will get ready and raise your hand, then we can ask from the audience. We can give you a moment if you need, and we do have some online questions as well. Do you want to start there?
Sounds great. We have a question from our online audience, from someone who was at the performance yesterday and wondered the significance of the pomegranate juice.
Well, thank you for coming to the performance. Pomegranate juice I have been using in many of my pieces. It speaks about both the underground. It speaks about ancient energy. It's a tree that grows in many different cultures, from ancient Greece to Africa to the Caribbean. I have pomegranate tree in my backyard when I was young. And it's a fruit of regeneration, and it's a fruit, as I said yesterday, that contains itself in multiple repetitions. So there are a lot of other ways to read it, and it's a fruit that is given to Shango, the god of iron and the god of thunder and the god of war in our belief system, but also is red. And in my piece from 1998, Spoken Softly with Mama, that is a performance part of the piece that is just using hundreds of pomegranate. And in some point, after all seeds had been separated, it's a shower. And I always say when I did that piece, I wanted to drop down rubies. So all of that in the pomegranate, and it's a cleansing drink, and yes.
And I think, did we, oh, so I'm going, oh, good, yes. Oh, you already have a mic. What wonderful.
Hello? Oh, it worked. Thank you all, and especially Magda. I'm wondering if you could speak about place, how you think about place, both, it's Ingrid. Hi.
Oh, okay, thank you.
How you think about place, and also I'm just going to tag in there. I'm also wondering, you've always curated in addition to teaching and making art. I'm wondering, so place, I don't know if it relates to curating and teaching and all that, but
when you, let me see if I understand your question. When you ask, what do I think about place, like place in history, place in urban places, being in Nashville or Boston or Matanzas, Cuba?
I was actually, oops, is this on? I need her help. Hello? Yes.
Yeah.
So I was actually thinking about, I was specifically general there. I was not thinking about it curatorially. I was thinking about it more place esoterically. Like, because I think there's a strong sense of place and historical place and, you know, just more how you think about place in your work. And especially as someone from Cuba who lives in America and, you know,
So,
relationship of place and history and your history and history.
So this is an important question, and I am sure that I cannot answer all of what you may want to hear. But at the time that you asked me this question, all my assumptions about place and sense of place are in a moment of changing in a way or reaffirming in a way. I have been saying for a little while now that I think of geography in a very fluid way, and that I am committed to call myself an air link rather than just a Cuban or an American or an Asian or an African. And I think I say in a piece very early that part of our problems is our fixation with differences. I am a woman, I don't want to say my age because it's in the catalog. But I am a woman who happened to born at 1:30 p.m. in a hill in Matanzas. But when I found myself in a hill in the Dolomites between Italy and Germany, more there, I feel the same. And then when I was in the Dolomites, and I'm trying to remember when I go to the Dolomites to the Veneto region, I found Ana Mendieta all over those valleys in the top of the hill. And then when I saw the stone of the Dolomite and I found shells in the rocks, brought me back to the shells in the rock in Matanzas. And when I was in Athens and I found shells in the rocks, are the rocks that I know from Matanzas. And then when I was in Africa and I saw the red soil was the red soil that I know from Matanzas. And then when I was in Maine, Swan's Island, and I look at the ocean and I see the horizon, I made the piece thinking of dreaming of an island. And when people say that piece, they're thinking that I am dreaming of Cuba, but I am dreaming of the island in front of me in the ocean, North Atlantic. And when I was still in love with Rainer Maria Rilke, and people were surprised because a girl from the town of La Vega in Matanzas, Cuba, loved Rilke, and loved Thomas Mann, and loved Balzac. How is possible that she know Nietzsche, and she loved it? How is possible she know Rabindranath Tagore, and she loved it? That is a sense of place. I belong everywhere that I could love. And that's what my art is about. And part of the problem that we have in this world right now, part of the struggle that we have, part of the horrors that we are witnessing that is happening right now at this place, in this point of the air, in this country, is this absurd obsession that because we born there with this color, with this size, and we may love that here, with that form and this place, somebody could call us different. I refuse that.
We don't have much time left. I think we can have one more question. I'm looking for a cue from the back. Is it okay to take one? Oh, I got a thumbs up. All right. In the front here? Okay, I'm so sorry. Wait for the microphone. She's so close. There we go.
Nice meeting you. Very nice to meet you. I am Cuban like you.
I'm so sorry.
Yes.
You heard that.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. Can you just speak into the mic?
Oh, yeah.
I have hard of hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
I come from Cuba. Yes, Havana, Cuba. I left Cuba many years ago, and things that I don't remember. But I want to know the meaning of prose in your work. Touched me very deeply when I saw your exhibition 2 weeks ago, and I saw the prose, this black girl with the pearls in the hair, and she was playing with pearls.
Yes.
Okay.
She got it.
I remember my mother used to say many years ago, I was a little girl, Cuba is the pearl of the Caribbean. Every woman before die has to have a pearl necklace. That means many things, who you are is in that colors necklace of pearls. What is your meaning of pearls in your work?
Tonight.
I will.
I know, I saw that.
We worship the ocean. There is more water in this planet than anything else. There is more water in your body than anything else. We cannot live without. Pearls come from the water. That's what I wear in pearls.
Good.
I'm so sorry. I'm actually going to just have one more because we have someone who was participated in the performance last night. Did you have a question? Yes. Great. Thank you so much for participating last night. We would love. Oh, sorry. Here in the beautiful dress. Thank you.
Hi. Sorry to take up this time, but
That's what we're here for. Do it.
First of all, thank you for the privilege to help you in your performance, Magda. I had a question about the usage of grids in your artwork. Grids generally are used to categorize data and map geographies. And hearing you speak about the matrilineal line, not just through generations, but also through the ecological, I'm interested in hearing your aesthetic and conceptual decisions to use grids in many of your pieces.
I I love mathematics. Mathematics is poetry in some way. So when I say that a little bit of me, to use the language of the art, is a formalist, is about, in some way, to structures and patterns, which the entire universe is all of that. You know, it's a beauty. I am interested in the, I'm gonna say the miniature, the minuscule, but if you could see everything that exists through a microscope, all the structures are glorious, and each one of them could be organized in a grid, some way, somehow. You could braid that grid, because from a grid you can make triangles and hexagons and every form that you want to imagine. Everything in the universe is a perfect structure of patterns. The most abstract of form, the most biology, microscopical scene, everything is that. And I mean, I don't going to have all the time to do and research everything that I want, I suppose, but I am fascinated with that. I am fascinated with the fractal structure of scenes that are invisible. In the town of Matanzas, they are a cavernous formation. They are one of the largest in the Caribbean. That are cathedrals of crystals and stalagmites and stalactites. And I grew up seeing that. I am being several times in the vault of the belly of Matanzas and seeing structures that are unbelievable. No? And so you spend hours and hours looking to the ocean and you start putting the patterns together, you're going to end up with quite interesting scenes. So all the scenes, and this piece that you are seeing, I am using a simple grid, and I am using the grid of the page. This is arch paper, which are very special for the materials that I'm using. I make my paper sometimes. Nature. And I did very early in a body of work that have not been here, totally out of the grid forms when I was much younger. So I am actually, from this conversation, I'm getting out with the response to the structure of the work, which is something for me to think and to find in a inner conversation more about that. But I dream most all of my work. I primarily do what I dream. And I am a very active dreamer. And I sleep very few hours, and those hours are dream. And then I wake sometime in the middle of the night to draw them or to write them. And so it's an interesting, but I want to, I believe there is no more questions. There are no more questions. But I want to say, in this moment in which it's a moment of great impact, it's very important to put attention to the arts. It's very important that everyone that is here that have interest in the art becomes somebody who fight for this, and I use the word fight even when I'm a pacifist, to find a space for the arts to have representation and that the people who need it have access to it. Everywhere that we are going together working, Kamal and myself, we are asking who you want to work with, and we say elderly and younger people. Younger because they are the future, and we want a future. And elderly because they are entire vessels of information that we need to keep and then we need to hold, and then we need the youngest to drink from it. So we are going to the Tate next, and what we ask, we want to work with children and with elderly. We're going to be working with grandmothers and with little kids. This is important. This is important as much as education. I don't know what is the future when education is put to the side. I am always interested when the pathways to education are put in the place of analysis. So how could we educate our people better? How could we be more efficient as educators? But anything else is a reason for great concerns. And art, in its pure forms, always is a vehicle for education. Any form of art, it is a tool for education. Art opens minds and heart and cure both.
I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank the incredible events team who make things go so smoothly here. We're so grateful to you. They have set up a beautiful reception for us, and I invite you to join us for the reception from 6 to 8 p.m. just outside the exhibition galleries, and the galleries will be open so that you can see the show until 8 p.m. I want to mention that we have another program upcoming related to this exhibition, and that is a conversation with two of the artist's longtime collaborators, and that will be an online conversation, so please do join us for that on April 6th. You will see mini grids in the exhibition. You will see pearls. You'll see many of the wonderful artworks that we looked at tonight. Another thing that you'll see there are some of the artist's notebooks. And she mentioned that she draws constantly. And so you'll see some drawings that she made on Zoom, some sketches that she made early in the morning. And one of those notebooks has something really beautiful in it that I got to have some time with when we were installing the exhibition. And that is some notes that she made to herself. It was a prayer, a kind of beautiful prayer. And you said, a prayer for love, a prayer for understanding. I can't read the whole thing because it will make me cry. It's really beautiful. A prayer for receiving, a prayer for forgiveness, a prayer at the door of the house and the heart. I thought I would ask you to leave us with a prayer for the year ahead. No pressure. All of us here for the entire year. You can take a moment to think about it if you'd like. We can applaud you first. Thank you for being here. I should have warned her at the beginning that I was going to ask this, but it came to me as you were speaking, because I think you have such a capacity for being hopeful, which is not something that I've been feeling a lot of lately. So a prayer for me, a prayer for all of us.
So I'm going to the prayer, but I'm going to say briefly. I was exhibiting in the Sharjah Biennial in 2023, and the curators say, Magda, they are a group of young curators from the Appel, Amsterdam. They came here looking for you. They want to work with you. And I am working with this fourth curator from the Appel program in Amsterdam. They have traveled with me to different venues. They went to Matanzas with me, Miami, other places, New York. And then use a phrase for the project that they're doing that is called hope is a discipline. It's a quoting another writer, but hope is a discipline. Let's think for the year ahead and for the challenge ahead with humility. Let's think that we together could build and activate one single space of love that could reverberate to many others around us. Let's pray for this city of Los Angeles, for regeneration, for peace, for love. Let's pray for the people that take decisions that affect all of us, that their mind and their heart get cleared, that their mind and their heart get tender, that their mind and their heart get candorous. Let's then remember the lines of umbilical cord that brought them here. Let them remember that people they want get to love could born in places far away from when we born, but that doesn't stop them from love then. Let them remember that we are all connected, and then when we touch one of us, it comes back to us. Let's pray for the people suffering in so many parts of our world, from Palestine, Israel, to Sudan, to South America, to any place when it's our people in suffering and in despair. May light, may love, may radical love, and may a circle of love embrace all of them. And let's pray for the art to continue being a delivery of hope in this world. Ashe. Amen. Inshallah.
Thank you. Let us hold that in ourselves as we move ahead. And I invite you to join us for a reception where we will be honoring and celebrating María Magdalena Campos-Pons. There will be some attendants to help you get to the gallery space, and the reception will be just outside. Please enjoy the exhibition, and we'll see you there soon.